Hello. Over the years, Nigeria has lurched from one power crisis to another. But what are the records saying presently in that sector? That's what we'll be interrogating tonight on the show. Good evening and welcome. The major problems of the power sector in Nigeria for so many years, experts believe, stem from poor policy initiative and implementation by successive administrations and inability to expand the sources of electricity to coal, wind or solar. This overdependence on gas-fired generation and consequent irregularities in gas supply to the thermal power stations have also been pointed by observers as core problem that has militated against the three chains of generation, transmission and distribution of electric energy. Another issue of concern is that of urban expansion of most state governments where buildings devoid of planning make it cumbersome to monitor, maintain and regulate electricity supply adequately. Insufficient supply of prepaid meters has also been brought to the fore. In a bid to tackle the problems head-on, the current administration is applying multidimensional perspective. There is evidence that government's action in transmission service expansion through the Transmission Company of Nigeria has increased transmission capacity to 7 megawatts, made possible through the completion of more than 20 distribution projects to improve the ability of distribution companies to take more power to the people. It is a known fact that erratic power supply has been the bane of economic and industrial development in the country ever since independence. But now the current administration says it is time to get it right. So in tonight's program, we'll get to find out what the government is doing differently as the future of the Nigerian electricity supply industry is seemingly beginning to look promising. Our guest tonight is the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, who will be reaching us from our Lagos studios during the time for conversation. My name is Kirian Umaya, and this is Weekend File. And the news now. President Muhammadu Buhari will on Sunday, June 10, embark on a two-day working visit to the Kingdom of Morocco. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the visit, which is at the invitation of His Royal Majesty King Mohammed, will see the two leaders discuss socio-economic matters affecting their countries following prior engagements in December 2016 during the official visit of His Majesty to Nigeria. In Rabat, discussions will focus on strengthening existing agreements on the fertilizer industry, education cooperation, the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline project, and establishing a basic chemical platform to harness Nigeria's vast natural gas resources and support Morocco's diammonium phosphate industry. The release notes that following the signing of a collaboration agreement between Nigeria and Morocco in December 2016 to revive the abandoned Nigeria's fertilizer blending plants, 14 plants have been revitalized so far under the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative PFI with a total capacity of 2.3 million MT of NPK fertilizers. The president will be accompanied on the trip by Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State, Governor Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa State, and other senior government officials. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration will remain relentless in the provision of critical infrastructure, job creation, and the enhancement of educational opportunities as a deliberate attempt at making Nigerians to be part of the nation's growth story. The president said this while granting audience to the National Executive Committee of the Buhari Campaign Organization. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the report.
Drawn from all parts of the country, the national officials of the Buhari Campaign Organization were in the State House to reassure the Nigerian leader of their resolve to work assiduously towards the renewal of his mandate in 2019 in the overall interest of Nigeria. President Buhari said, in spite of the giant strides recorded by his administration so far, a lot still needs to be done for Nigeria and Nigerians as a matter of right.
Education, really, wherever you are, we just have to do something about education. It's the biggest investment we can make for the future of this country. What else can we leave to our children and grandchildren? Is to have a solid infrastructure so that those of them that want to succeed in life, they can work hard and achieve their objectives.
The president commended his guest for keeping faith with the governing APC, promising that their trust and confidence will not be in vain.
I very much appreciate the sacrifice you have made in terms of your steadfastness all these years, physically and materially. I cannot thank you enough for that. Only God can pay you.
Leader of the delegation, Senator Abba Ali, takes pride in the accomplishments of the Buhari administration so far, thereby placing Nigeria on the path to genuine prosperity, saying, however, that continuity is critical towards getting to the promised land, and on this they all stand.
We know that the damage has been done for quite a long time, and we know that it is difficult for anybody to correct it within a short time. We believe that we are going to lead this country to prosperity.
Mr. President, I'm sure you'll agree with me that the votes of women made the difference in your last election. We are giving you a sincere commitment that what we did in 2015, we will even do more.
Some members of the organization gave reasons for their passionate support and commitment to the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2019.
Without President Buhari, we wouldn't have had a country by now. He has given this country a new life. The job has not been completed. There's so much for him to do for this nation. Why wouldn't we bring him back?
Since after the Civil War, what we have experienced in the 3 years of Buhari administration, we never experienced it. And then this is why I am calling on my brothers and sisters, particularly from the Southeast. 2015 is gone. We have an opportunity to reposition ourselves into the mainstream of Nigerian politics.
He has shown strength, commitment to the economy, to the security, to the well-being of Nigerians, even planning for the future. And that is why we are calling all Nigerians to support him so that he can give the base to this nation for us to move forward.
I'm specifically wanting him to be re-elected because, number one, he curtailed the insurgency in northeastern state. Secondly, by his participation, by his role, he will break the backbone of corruption. And that's all what we need.
The president stands for justice. The president stands for getting things done right. And that is why I stand by him.
A vote for him is a vote for integrity. It's a vote for a better Nigeria. It's a vote for a Nigeria that our children will be proud of.
The Buhari Campaign Organization is a non-governmental body established before the 2015 elections. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the Buhari administration will not be distracted by frivolous allegations from any quarter, especially those cleverly choreographed to divert attention from a widely acclaimed presidential proclamation. In a statement issued in Lagos, the minister said the administration is too busy trying to clear the mess of 16 years and build on its unprecedented achievements over the past 3 years, instead of wasting its energy and time on framing up anyone or dwelling on issues that are not grounded on fact. He said, while those who have skeletons in their cupboards should be afraid, even of their own shadows, while innocent persons need not worry about any investigation, whether real or imaginary. The minister said it was curious that the frame-up and witch hunt allegations came a day after a major presidential proclamation reversing some past acts of injustice made to the relief and acclamation of a long expectant nation. Lai Mohammed said the unprecedented achievements of the Buhari administration are also enough to cause sleepless nights with their attendant symptoms that include phantasm for those who had better opportunities to make the country great but floundered on the altar of narcissism. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has enjoined the well-to-do in the society to engage more on philanthropic works that would impact lives positively. This was at the 12th annual Heart and Soul Gala Night organized by the Chike Okola Foundation in Lagos. Tunde Saiki has the report.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, while acknowledging the impact of philanthropy to the growth of the human capital, said with positive results coming out of beneficiaries of such gestures, it needs to be given more credence. He noted that the Chike Okola Foundation has been inspiring and has created more awareness on health-related issues, especially cardiovascular diseases. Professor Yemi Osinbajo said since the foundation also added entrepreneurial development to its scope, it shows its readiness to impact more on the youth for them to become self-reliant in life.
In death, Chike has brought and continues to bring together multitudes of people, young and old, at various events and outreaches aimed at touching lives, especially those of young Nigerians, in positive ways.
The chairman, board of directors of the foundation, Dr. Stella Okoli, said the foundation is aimed at fostering a healthy and prosperous society by focusing on promoting healthy lifestyle and entrepreneurship among the younger generation.
It is wonderful that everyone here is glowing. Everyone here has a good heart to do good because there's no substitute for doing good.
The gala night had in attendance personalities from all walks of life. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
2 days after NTA News raised the alarm and concerns of motorists about the dangerous portions of the busy Lafia-Makurdi highway, a heavy-duty truck fell over, killing many people while trying to avoid collision at one of the spots. Joshua Ojito gives us an update.
Trying to avoid the felt portion and a collision, this accident happened with lives lost and property destroyed.
The accident occurred around that 6:30 in the morning. So many lives have been dying here.
At the spot, security personnel are on hand to ensure flow of traffic along the ever-busy road. The Federal Road Safety Corps in a study says the Akwanga-Lafia-Makurdi road is ridden with pavement distress, potholes, cracks, roots, edge failure and erosion. With commitment by the government to fix, motorists say the back portions with gaping holes are death traps.
I'm appealing to the government that they should come and repair this road so that we don't want more lives to be going every day here.
The road is the only link that connects the far north and north central through the Makurdi axis to the east and south-south. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has restated the irrevocable commitment of his administration to bequeath to the nation a new orientation in leadership that will be service-driven based on justice, equity, and focus. The president was speaking at the closing of this year's Ramadan Tafsir in the State House Mosque. State House correspondent Adam Sambo has the report.
Since the commencement of this year's Ramadan fast, it has been a daily routine for President Muhammadu Buhari to take time off his busy schedule to join the Muslim community for the spiritual reawakening crusade. The chief imam of the State House Mosque, Abdul Wahid Abubakar, led the Ummah in the recitation, translation, and explanation of the Holy Quran to enable them live their lives meaningfully for eternal salvation. In his remarks at the closing of the tafsir, President Muhammadu Buhari said he is not unmindful of the huge public expectations as well as his responsibilities to the nation. He therefore promised to remain selfless in the discharge of his mandate conscientiously and with justice.
I have learned so much. I'm still learning. I hope God will give me the strength and the intelligence to deliver justice, as God said, in all we do, so that when I eventually face him, I will face him with confidence.
The chief imam, Abdul Wahid Abubakar, led the Ummah in prayers for unity, stability, and development of the country, as well as the protection and guidance of the president to lead the nation aright. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And in the spirit of love and giving in the month of Ramadan, Unilever Nigeria PLC has doled out food packs to Muslims in Area 1 Mosque, Abuja, for their breakfast. This, according to the company, is a way of giving back to the society in a Ramadan campaign tagged Awakening to What Really Matters. Don't just think, do. Ahmed Ondas Ahmed now reports.
In its corporate social responsibility bid and in the spirit of givers never lack, Unilever Nigeria PLC is bringing smiles to the Muslim community in the nation's capital Abuja as they break their fast courtesy of Lipton Tea Park. The area sales manager of the company noted that there is love in giving, especially to the indigent members of the society, in order to give them a sense of belonging during the holy month of Ramadan.
We're promoting what is called Don't Just Think But Do. And Unilever this period has come out to say let's spread love to those in the community by actually doing the things you see, providing breaking food for those after the iftar.
The chief imam of Area 1 Mosque, Abuja, Sheikh Rabiu Suleiman, who could not hide his joy, prayed God to reward the company as they identify with the needy during the holy month of Ramadan.
Because there are many mosques in this Abuja, but they selected our mosques to come and give iftar. We really appreciate, and I'm very happy as their members, because most of their units, every fasting, they used to come.
Still on the Ramadan campaign by Unilever Nigeria PLC, 1,000 widow pack will be given to the less privileged by the end of this month to help them start a business of their own. Ahmed Ondas Ahmed, NTA News.
You are watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. Electric power supply appears to be the most important commodity for national development, and government says that achieving sufficiency in power supply is inevitable. Stay with us for further analysis as we bring you situation reports from our correspondents across the nation, and that is up ahead.
From the 21st to the 23rd of June 2018, more than 300 of the world's influential media professionals, including editors, senior media executives, leading journalists, academics, and social commentators, will converge on Abuja, Nigeria, as the International Press Institute holds its World Congress in Nigeria for the very first time. Expected dignitaries include 4 African presidents and participants from 150 nations to deliberate on the theme,
Why Good Journalism Matters, Quality Media for Strong Society.
President Muhammadu Buhari will deliver the opening address at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, and IPI World Congress Organizing Committee Chairman, Nduka Obaigbena, welcome IPI Executive Board Chairman, John Yearwood, Executive Director, Barbara Triumphi, and all delegates to the IPI World Congress 2018. Tony O. Iradia, Chairman, Media and Publicity Committee, Announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Morphine! Presenting Morphine Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Morphine Power Guard.
His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, will confer posthumous National Award on Chief MKO Abiola, Chief Gani Fawemi, and Ambassador Babagana Kingibe at an investiture on Tuesday, June 12, 2018 at Conference Hall, State House, Abuja at 10 a.m. Invitees include families of Chief Abiola and Chief Fawemi and all other dignitaries whose names were published in the national dailies, principal officers of the National Assembly, members of the Federal Executive Council, and all state governors. Accommodation has been reserved for all invitees at the Nikon Luxury Hotel, Garki, Abuja, from Monday, 11 June 2018. Invited guests will be transported from the hotel to the venue. All other attendees are to join the bus provided at the Eagle Square for their transportation to the venue. All attendees must come with valid means of identification. Signed, Boss Mustafa, Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
federal government of Nigeria, through the Ecological Fund Office, domiciled in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, awarded and executed several ecological intervention projects between May 2015 and December 2017, spread across all the states of the Federation. 53 of these projects have been completed and will be commissioned and handed over to the different benefiting communities. This is to ensure that the communities assume ownership and sustainable management of the projects. For more information, check the national newspapers. Announcer Dr. Habiba Lawal, Permanent Secretary, Ecological Fund Office.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three put
You are welcome, sir.
as usual, yeah? I was
You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
no other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
And you're welcome back. Insufficient funding and neglect have been identified as factors that derailed the power sector. And that is what the Buhari administration is determined to correct by creating enabling environment, corresponding policies and interventions that will expand electricity infrastructure. The target is to accommodate new development challenges in Nigeria, as you hear in this report by Usman Ali.
Players in the power sector have the conviction that it is the hard way and the better way actualizing the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, which the Buhari administration believes can reverse the decay in the sector. That means commitments such as de-risking the sector, which was torn in liabilities. This does not solve the problems at all, as new programs and policies have been formulated to increase and improve the sources of power generation and create easy access to quality and affordable electricity.
Last year, the administration approved through the Federal Executive Council a program called the Distribution Expansion Program. This is a framework to strengthen the distribution network, that is towers, substations, transmission lines all over the country.
More than ever before this time, investors develop confidence in the government owing to the integrity and fair play it enjoys.
There's an import duty exemption certificate waiver given to investors in the power sector.
China's Export and Import Bank agrees to support Nigeria to build the largest Africa's multipurpose Mambila hydropower. This is in addition to other local and international investments in renewable energy initiatives.
We are promoting a 100 megawatts wind energy farm in Plateau State right away with a Chinese company called Gold Wind Energy from South Africa.
Experts in the power sector are optimistic that in just 3 years, the Buhari administration is able to provide the platform that will deliver the sector from its former bad situation to a better future. In Abuja, Usman Aliu, NTA News.
From Kaduna, Haman Jabani will now bring us up to speed on the multi-billion naira power plant and transmission lines in that state.
The 3 power stations, 2 located in Kaduna Metropolis and 1 in Zaria, have a combined capacity of 852 MVA, which stakeholders say is significant improvement over the past.
This is very, very key to effective distribution of electricity to customers.
The state will also get additional 5 power substations for service delivery, with 330 MVA substations to be constructed in Millennium City and Zaria, while 132 MVA substations will be provided at Jaji, Rigasa and Birnin Gwari. Under the Rehabilitation, Transmission and Expansion Program, work is ongoing on the second power line from Kainji to Kaduna, 330 line from Kudanda to Mando, reconstruction of one of the segments from Shiroro to Kaduna into Cord Line with 44 conductors, and from Kaduna to Kano. The federal government is building a double-socket line from Kainji to Birnin Kebbi and Sokoto with 330 substations in Sokoto, 132 substations in Argungu, and reinforcement of Yawuri substation. Another line being put up is from Katsina to Daura, Guruwa to Jogana to terminate Unkura, Kano State, with 330 substations at Daura and Jogana. Other measures taken towards improving the power sector is the buying of more than 600 containers out of the 800 containing power equipment that were auctioned at the port, buying of 330 breakers and conductors, as well as working towards installation of SCADA, standardization of substations, digitalization of control rooms and database. The Kaduna zone comprises all the states from the northwest zone of the country. Hamman Jabani.
Osogbo, the Osun state capital, which houses the National Control Center for Electricity in Nigeria, has a rare advantage of improved electricity supply. This is rubbing off positively on the socio-economic standard of the state generally and Osogbo in particular. Femi Afariogun reports.
The National Control Center in Osogbo supervises and ensures distribution of power to all regional control centers in the grid network, which include that of Benin, Ikeja West, and Shiroro. Osun State, particularly Osogbo, has no doubt benefited immensely from hosting the heartbeat of power supply in the country. Small-scale business owners who spoke to NTA News said power supply had increased in recent time, thereby boosting their businesses.
Thank God that we have enjoyed more than before. We have gained lost our customer here, but because the electricity is in state.
If work did that now, we will now finish everything because we don't have anything, any problem with light. I can't beg with anybody. So every day I will do my work, I will shop anything I like.
Consumers appealed to the federal government to do more in its effort at ensuring that power generation rise to the peak for growth of small-scale businesses. Aside the growth of small-scale businesses, the National Control Center also has impacted on industrialization in the state.
Very much, if you look at the cost of diesel that people will buy to maintain their factory, it's very, very expensive. But with this power availability, minimum of 12 hours in a day, that one has increased the level of small-scale enterprises and industrialization in the state.
Stakeholders say if the momentum in the power generation is sustained, more foreign and local investors will turn Osun to industrial hub. In Osogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
Here now is Joshua Ojito with the power situation in Nasarawa State.
John and many artisans like him who need electricity to fly their trade have located to Shabu, a Lafia suburb, because for every week they enjoy about 5 days of uninterrupted supply. The community now is gradually turning into a densely populated settlement.
Is it NEPA light or generator? NEPA light.
However, across the state from Karu to Kefi, Akwanga, Nasarawa Igon and Lafia and rural communities, the power sector is of dwindling fortunes, but with a brighter prospects as things are beginning to change in view of critical interventions by the government. The 330 kV transmission line from Ikot Ipene through Enugu to Makurdi, and with work already advanced in Lafia to construct a station, is expected to completely change the story of power sector in Nasarawa State and beyond.
I believe that when this is done, and we will have ample improvement in the power situation.
There are distribution stations already inaugurated to boost power supply across the state, like the 2x 7.5 MVA injection substation in Akunza, an outskirts of Lafia, and a similar one around Karu axis. A 60 MVA transformer was also installed in Kefi as part of transmission rehabilitation and expansion program initiated by the federal government.
By the time all these three are completed, you discover that all the villages around that have been they have never experienced supply before electricity for over 30-40 years, they'll be having electricity.
On its part, the government of Nasarawa State, in partnership with the private sector, is looking ahead with 2 projects expected to actualize 200 megawatts from solar and 96 megawatts from a sugarcane processing industry. With all this power infrastructure coming into friction in no distant time, in Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
The economic development of Taraba and its neighboring states will receive a huge boost with the construction of the Mambila hydropower plant in Gembu, Sadona local government area. Joseph Saundo Olsen reports.
This surging water and other tributaries flowing down to River Dunga in Gembu local government area is the main source of water for the Mambila hydropower plant. The plant, described as one of the biggest in Africa, will generate over 3,050 megawatts of electricity when completed.
This very river you are seeing is the source of the water that will give us the power plant, the hydroelectric power plant that our dear president, since he loved it, he has worked about it. Pray that it will actually come to fulfillment and that we will reap the dividends of this nature's gift that God has given us.
Nigeria first envisaged the idea in the 1970s, but it was the Shehu Shagari administration that initiated the move for its construction in 1982. Since then, successive regimes did not show much interest until last year, 2017, that the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration approved a sum of $5.7 billion for the construction of the project within 6 years.
We have been given a selected power mega, that is 15 or 20. That problem will be a thing of the past. So it will cover very well, and that will go a long way to enhance our economic activities.
No country can develop economically without electricity, and Nigeria is not an exception. Here, locally in Taraba State, once there's electricity supply, small businesses, small-scale businesses like supermarkets and others are benefiting.
The Mambila hydropower plant will include the construction of 4 dams. It will also run a transmission line of 700 kilometers. From Gembu, Joseph Sound O10, NTA News.
All right, a reminder that we are bringing you the second leg of our program on power. We did the first leg on power, and we had reports from different parts of the country. And the reports that we have watched this evening gave us the opportunity to appreciate the efforts of the federal government on power infrastructure in other parts of the country. And the man in charge of that portfolio, Babatunde Raji Fashola, is already on a standby in our Lagos studios for the conversation segment. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's time to go Russia.
Glow is bringing out the heavy hitters to recruit passionate supporters for the Go Russia promo. Don't let the opportunity of a lifetime pass you by.
Hey, come with us to Russia.
But you can also be part of the 22 winners visiting Russia with Glow. Use a minimum of 3,000 Naira on voice or 5,000 and data to qualify for the draws. Send GO to 240.
Time to go Russia.
Great supporters of African football. Glow, grandmasters of data.
Sore throats, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
At the end of 2017, the Buhari administration delivered a number of unprecedented achievements. Generated power has gone up to 7,000 megawatts in 2017 from 3,000 megawatts in May 2015. More than 1.6 trillion naira has been spent on infrastructure for roads, bridges, housing, dams and railways. Nigeria moved up 24 places on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings and earned a place on the list of top 10 reformers in the world. Today, 5.2 million primary school children in 28,249 schools in 19 states are receiving a free meal daily. Our customs service recorded its highest ever revenue collection of 1 trillion naira in a single year. Our foreign exchange reserves grew by $12 billion, reaching the highest level since 2014. We added $250 million to the Sovereign Wealth Fund and officially moved out of recession.
And we now link up with our special guest, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, who is in our Lagos Network Center. We are glad to host you on Weekend File once again, Honorable Minister. Good evening and welcome.
And thank you for having me again.
All right, sir. Let's begin by asking you to provide us with an update on the power situation in Nigeria, the incipient of this administration, that is to say, on May 29, 2015, when this government was inaugurated.
Well, I think that the first thing I want to say is that we must define what progress represents to us. We must also define what success means to us. And these definitions are important so that when we record progress and when there is success also, we can recognize them. In 1999, from the data that is available from the National Control Center, the average, and I emphasize the word the average amount of power that was being generated in Nigeria was 2,307 megawatt. That's the average. In 1999, the average was about 4,000 megawatt. I mean, in 2015, sorry. So it was 2,307 in 1999, 4,000 in 2015, and averagely it is now 7,000 in 2018. If you look at the period between 1999 and 2015, what you will see over 16 years is that the growth is roughly about 105 megawatt per year. And what you will see between 2015 from 4,000 to 7,000 is that the growth under the Buhari administration is roughly about 1,000 megawatt per annum. That's a massive difference in scale up. And this is not surprising. This is partly because the Buhari administration has power and energy sufficiency as one of its objectives under the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. In addition to that, the investment in infrastructure generally and power in particular, especially transmission, that is the government's responsibility, and the support for generation and distribution, which are private sector responsibilities, have reached an all-time high. And so we see the reports that your correspondents have brought out from ordinary people, welders, sawmillers, traders, supermarkets, saying that they are better off today than before, and they expect more to come. And more to come means simply that I know that our work is not finished. And I just want to also emphasize in opening that all of what I have said relates largely to the power on the national grid. It is different from the power off the grid. Before today, there was really it was difficult to identify with any seriousness development off the grid, except for generators that people had.
Thank you. Now, some people are of the opinion that Nigeria, we're giving, our size and population, ought to be generating up to or more than 40,000 megawatts, as we know in South Africa, which generates up to that 40,000 megawatts. Now, what's your reaction to that?
Well, I have heard those generalizations, and I think they have come to the fore more recently because there is now progress. Some people now say, well, it's not enough because South Africa is generating 40,000 megawatts. Until we reach 40,000 megawatts, they won't accept that there is progress. But the truth that must be mentioned is that the amount of power that a nation requires is not a matter only, and I stress the word only, of the size of its population. It is also a matter of what that population is doing, what the economy of that nation is doing. South Africa, to my knowledge, has a larger industrial base than Nigeria. They have a larger mining activity which consumes a lot of energy. They manufacture vehicles. There are many vehicle assembly plants there which are just beginning to take foothold in Nigeria. They make arms in South Africa, and if I'm not mistaken, they also make aircraft parts if they are not making major, smaller aircraft. So that is where the demand for South Africa's energy largely comes from. And if I recall also, Eskom, which is the largest producer of energy there, is also producing energy from nuclear capacities, which we haven't yet developed. Compared to our economy, which is largely a service-driven economy, apart from Dangote, Lafarge, the Indomie Group, a few textile organizations, we're largely still a trading company. Most of the technology that drives either our television or our telecommunication also has large South African input. So that is the economic journey that we must walk to be able to demand the amount of energy that South Africa currently is consuming. And truth be told, those who make that comment, if they follow South Africa's Eskom too, they are in some difficulty. They are losing their energy supply over the last 2 years that I have followed them. They've had to go and take a massive infrastructure support fund from the China Development Bank. So no nation really that I know of, very few nations rather that I know of, are not struggling with their power. But we are making progress. We are heading in the right direction, which is very important. People have hope, whether from Oshogbo, as you have reported, whether from Nasarawa, as you have reported, whether from Kaduna, whether from Jigawa, where I was a few weeks ago, or from Kanu, and all over the country, people acknowledge that it is better than yesterday, and that, for me, is momentum to continue to head in the direction that we are headed.
Honorable Minister, the increase, or rather the improvement in the power supply comes with a, increased intensity of the demand by consumers in the entire supply chain, who are worried that they're not getting sufficient number of prepaid meters required for them to also pay. And now what we have is estimated bills to a majority of Nigerians, and that is of course bringing some headache, not just for your ministry, but for the consumers as well. What is being done to rectify this situation?
Well, I am glad that you brought up this matter. It's the biggest conversation we now have in the power sector, the question of estimated bills and the need to bridge the metering gap, and we are responding to it. But before I go into the details of what we're doing, let me also say that the estimated billings are now a more important issue as a result of the experience that people are having. As I say to them, you can't be wanting meters if you don't have power. So it means that some people are getting power. There are others who haven't got, and I acknowledge that. We haven't covered everywhere. But all of these are problems that indicate that there is progress, and we will solve them. What we found was that there was a metering contract that was signed in 2003 by the previous administration, and up till 2015 when President Buhari took office, that project hasn't been executed. They were trapped in court. 37 billion naira of Nigeria's money was trapped in a judgment in court. The Buhari administration has solved that problem. We've converted that money into a loan to the supplier now. Government is largely getting out of meter supply. It is turning it into a private business. Just as we have licensed people to distribute power and to generate power, we are going to license people to supply meters, to go to customers, working with the discos who are the people who serve the customers. This will happen under the meter asset provider regulations issued by NERC. So the 37 billion naira represents a seed fund for private sector to use. We have already received interest by the discos working with the company. We expect other companies to come with their own funding, and they're already talking to many banks apart from this seed fund. I know that Yola Disco, which is government run at this time, has already ordered 400,000 meters. I know that Abuja Disco has shown interest in about 250,000 meters. We are also waiting for responses from other distribution companies. I know that the meter manufacturers locally are also positioning to take benefit. And we think that there's an opportunity for small and medium enterprises and small businesses to take control of this market and gain the opportunity that we lost with cell phones, where we imported almost all the cell phones that we needed as a nation from China, and then went to China to be borrowing money to undertake our project. We think we can keep that wealth here and that opportunity here. So in the course of the year, we will begin to see this meter asset provider regulation beginning to have impact. Last week, I was in the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives is initiating a bill trying to, as it were, criminalize the issuance of estimated bills. And our role is to provide enough information, enough evidence, enough advisory to the National Assembly to ensure that it passes a law that is implementable and a law that helps to solve the problem. We think that the lack of meters, on one hand, is a major issue, is a major driver of mistrust between service providers and their consumers, and we need to build trust by providing meters and eliminating estimated billing. I can say to Nigerians that methodically we will approach this problem and we will solve it.
All right, Honorable Minister, give us an update of some of the power projects that are expected to boost the incremental power drive of this administration, briefly.
Okay, I was speaking earlier, thank you very much. I was speaking earlier about the power on the grid and power that will come to the grid. The President in his New Year address mentioned Azura. Azura is now finished. So testing and commissioning largely completed. Between June and July, Azura should come into full commercial operation. That will add another 459 megawatt to the national grid. The AFAM 3 fast power project should be completed between July and September, I believe. All the turbines have been installed. We are testing for gas supply and efficiency to switch on. That will add 240 megawatts to the grid. Then the Kaduna power plant, which had been struggling, we have gained traction there. We hope to finish that before the end of the year. That should add another 215 megawatts to the grid. So we're already talking of 240, 215, 450. We are close to 900 and something. And Kashimbila power plant in Taraba State, that should add another 40 megawatt to the grid. That's another 1,000 again. As I said when I opened, we're delivering roughly 1,000 per year compared to what we inherited of 100 plus per annum over 16 years. But that is on-grid power. Let me speak quickly to off-grid power. The projects in the universities, the first phase of 9 universities have all now been paid. 2 were paid from budget. 7 were paid from the green bonds that the Ministry of Environment with Ministry of Finance initiated, the first green bonds in Africa, and now the contractors should move to site. So work should start in 9 universities on an off-grid basis. We're working in area market to power 37,000 shops, and in Sabongari in Kanu to power about 15,000 shops. Those are off-grid solutions, and you will see more of them in markets across the country. I know we're in Ogun, we're in Oyo, we're in Lagos. We're also talking to other states in other zones. I think at the first phase, about 15 different markets across the country. So those are off-grid solutions that, again, will support the decentralization and incremental access to power. All of these projects are already, they've largely started, they're in implementation, some are nearing completion. So they're not things we're thinking of. This is President Buhari's style and method to actually reach the most vulnerable people, the people who voted for him, the people whose voices he hears every day, and the people for whom he stands in the guard to deliver change.
Honorable Minister, I'll ask you this question, in fact, 2 questions in one. One is on power, and one is on road. This appears to be maybe the final question for this conversation. Now, let me just read it out. In the heat of the recent controversy over the amount of money spent by the past administration on the power sector without attaining the goal of improved power supply, among explanations offered was that some of the imported power equipment were held up at the ports. Did you inherit any such equipment? And what was the total number? And what have you been able to do with such equipment? Another is that in one of our reports, we showed a very interesting report on the Lafia-Makurdi road, you know, that, of course, has so many potholes. And one trailer fell there just yesterday, killing so many people. Is there any plans for that road? That's after I must have taken the first person, sir.
I think I'd rather take the road question first. First, I want to again express my deep sympathy for the victims of that accident. I saw the report when I got to your studio. We just recently awarded the contract for that road, Lafia, Akwanga, Lafia, and Makurdi, and our contractor is just mobilizing to the site. We are aware of the problem. I think I announced the award less than 3 or 4 weeks ago in council, so contractors still have to go through advance payment, contracts, and all of that they need to sign before they mobilize to site. Once again, my sympathies to the victims of the accident. My appeal to motorists to be careful on the road. Help is on the way. We will soon address the problem. The Buhari government hears you loudly and clearly. These are legacies from the past that we are addressing one after the other. With regard to equipment at the port, it is true we met equipment, about 800 plus containers stranded in the port for almost a decade. They contain various equipment for power development. They were stranded in the port because we refused to pay the shippers and the warehouse companies who shipped and warehoused this equipment. That was all. And this was at the period when we were earning $100 per barrel of oil. There was no budget for paying them. The first budget to pay them was in the 2016 budget. We have also budgeted in 2017. We've started paying. We've paid, I think, if I recall now, over 2 or 3 billion. I don't have the exact figures. And we've recovered from the last report, because I get quarterly reports. The last report I got was 502 containers have been collected. These figures are moving rapidly, and most of those containers have gone to places like the Kaduna power plant that I told you about. They have gone to substations by TCN that you are seeing us complete now. In the next 2 or 3 days, I'll be in Kaduna to also commission some of the equipment that are delivered from these recovered containers, and we will continue until we recover all the containers. It was a reprehensible neglect, really, and bad maladministration to have left 800 containers of power equipment in our own port when we had the money and we had the authority and the control to have done something about it. But the Buhari administration has done something about it and will solve that problem again.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We hope that those equipment have not, some of them have not gone obsolete. Thank you very much for your insight tonight on Weekend File. Thank you for coming. I have been speaking with the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Rajifashola, from our Lagos Network Center on today's edition of Weekend File. For now, let's go to sports. With 4 days and few hours to the kickoff of the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, sports correspondent Ayodeji Makinde takes a look at more records to be set by players heading to the showpiece.
The kickoff of the 2018 FIFA World Cup on 14th